is Gary again. I'm going to kind of discuss with you guys some tips and strategies for kindergarten classrooms and, provide as much help and hopefully give you some new ideas to take with you into your classrooms. All right. So it's a pleasure. Okay. So my agenda for today, it's kind of a bit loaded. So, try to get through it. But a lot of it, I did put the time in to explain it. So if you view the presentation later, there won't be much missed. Okay. So I'm going to have a bit of general teaching tips. So go over what the Big Five of English literacy is. And the kind of strategy that I'm going to discuss today will be the whole child approach. Okay. So if you don't know what it is, or you maybe have heard of it, we're going to try to, first I'm going to present the idea to you and then kind of try to apply it into, into our teaching and what things that we need to look out for, what things that we kind of need to alter or think about as we plan our lessons and, teach our lessons. All right. Then we'll go into kind of a lesson walkthrough. So we'll be using an eFuture Kindergarten course book. And I'll introduce that to you and kind of give you my thoughts and ideas on how to apply it through that book. And then at the end, of course, going to give a lot of game and activity ideas for you guys to use with your students and, kind of point out what kind of things that they accomplish or that are trying to develop through these activities. Okay, so let's go through here. So first we have the Big Five of English literacy. So does anybody know what components, what pillars of English literacy there are? So what are these Big Five? So if you've been to some of my previous webinars, I might have talked about this before. So for those of you that are new, hopefully this might give you a better idea. But do we have any guesses? What is in the Big Five? What makes up the Big Five of English literacy? What do you think? So when we learn English, what are the important things that we kind of look at when we learn English? Okay, so feel free to write in the chat. Okay. So any ideas or guesses? Phonics, Romy, very good. Phonics is one component. Vocabulary. Hopefully you guys aren't searching on your phones. Okay. Phonics, vocabulary, reading and speaking, it's a good one. Those are the skills that we need to get to these. So grammar. So those are the skills. So the Big Five of English literacy is a little bit different. They do encompass all of our 4 skills. Okay. But there's a little bit different. Okay, so we're on the right track. So the first one, so we're going in order here. So the first one in the Big Five, we're looking at phonemic awareness. Okay, phonemic awareness. Does anyone have an idea what phonemic awareness is? So this is the step that comes before phonics. So I'm already giving you the answer for number 2. But phonemic awareness comes before phonics. And what phonemic awareness is just kind of that basic knowledge and awareness of the phonemes, of the sounds, okay? Yeah, so to identify the letter names and its sound. So it's just getting that kind of, building that base of, okay, I know these sounds exist, okay? So like when we have like the young children, just, reading a book to them or having them listen to a song, those kind of things build up the phonemic awareness. So when we get into phonics, they're like, oh, they have that knowledge. Oh, I've heard this sound before. And then the phonics comes in, and that's where we bridge the gap to this sound is represented by this letter. Okay. So then we're building upon that. All right. So phonemic awareness and then phonics. And then I've seen some people put it on there. Fluency comes in. So now when we get phonics, so we get kind of the ability to start reading and speaking a bit through phonics. So then fluency is not, when we think of someone being fluent, We think of them all being perfect, but fluency is just trying to get them to, practice, getting them to, use the language a bit. Okay, so that's one of the big things involved. And then after fluency comes in vocabulary. So a lot of people have talked about vocabulary. And even though I put fluency at number 3, fluency can come with every single one of these kind of steps. So then once we get the phonics and then the vocabulary, so they're putting the letters together now. They're putting all these sounds together to create words. So we're kind of building up. And then after vocabulary comes the big one, which, comes at all points of their education, is the comprehension. Okay, so we start with the basic sounds and then bridging the sounds to what the letters represent, these sounds, and then putting the letters together to make the words, and then eventually putting the words together to make sentences, and then understanding, even from vocabulary and these sentences, what they are. Okay, but with all of this, just a reminder, we are talking about the kindergarten level students. Okay, we're looking at the very young learners here. Okay, so first-time English learners. So when we're looking at these 5 pillars, we're mainly trying to harness the first 2. Okay, mainly focusing on the first 2. So building up that awareness and building up their phonics initially in the beginning. But we can still get these 3 to 5, 3 to 5 things included in their learning, but we just have to kind of control it, okay, through the content. So depending on what we're teaching them, we can't push things too difficult for the students. We have to kind of control it. And I will talk about that in a little bit. Hopefully you're not hearing the sirens in the background here. Okay. So now going into the whole child approach. So how are we going to take all these 5 and put them in our classrooms and, at the same time, get our students to become learners, all right? So what is the whole child approach? Does anyone in the chat know? What is the whole child approach? Or has anyone heard of it? Might sound familiar, but not quite sure. Includes interaction. Okay. So again, for some people that just joined us, I'd like to have you guys change your chat settings to all panelists and attendees. So for when I have these kinds of questions out there, I'd like everyone to kind of share their answers and see. Okay. So if you don't know how to do that, there is a little drop-down box right above your chat window or your chat box where you put in. Okay. So it seems like this is the first time that a lot of people, or that some people have been hearing about this approach. So what it is, normal times when we're teaching, we're only kind of trying to develop, the students' learning, right? Trying to develop, what they're learning and everything. But this approach kind of takes in, as its name is, the whole child. So that includes in developing their social skills, their emotional skills, physical skills, in addition to, their mental skills. Okay, so it's trying to develop everything to build them into a competent learner as they go through their education, because we are looking at these young students, right? So it's how can we encompass all of this development while teaching, okay, and in our English class, right? So how can we do this? So these are some things that we can do within our lesson, within our kind of classroom management, that we can ensure that our students are, learning or are becoming, a learner, as I'm kind of reiterating a lot. So this is how we can kind of do that. And maybe not limited to these things. There might be some other things special for your class that you might try to incorporate. But these are kind of the main things that I kind of think of to kind of make sure that our students are learning in a positive way, okay? So first one here, being healthy. In addition, like at a young age, we're trying to, of course, we want our children to be and our students to be healthy. But in the classroom, trying to build that kind of healthy mind, okay? Build a healthy mind and promote them to make healthy choices, right? So this is kind of what I mean with healthy. So again, we can like we don't have full control, of course, of what they're eating at home or anything. But when we have them in class or at school, we can try to kind of promote things in a healthy way. And then another things, all of these are important points, making sure that they're safe. There's a lot of times, especially when they're younger, things, especially emotionally, things can be developed quite early. So, if a student experiences like being made fun of, like in English class. So when I was a teacher in sixth graders, a lot of students didn't want to volunteer to answer anything or to read their sentences or anything because, they feared being bullied in class. And so it comes in where the teacher comes in to, if I ever heard another student kind of laughing at a student for reading in English, I would have a talk with that student and try to create an environment that is safe for the student. Okay. And with that, trying to be supportive of your students. Okay. Trying to be supportive. So if they can feel the positive, kind of interaction between you or from you, then, it kind of develops that kind of relationship that they know, okay, my teacher has my back. Like I shouldn't be afraid to do all this. Okay? So continuing on. And then engaged. So now this is where, as teachers, where our lesson planning comes in, and what kind of activities and kind of methods that we're using, trying to make sure that we are like empowering our students and gaining their interest and motivation in the classroom. Okay, and I'll try to give some ideas, whether it's through games or activities, to get the students engaged in class. And especially with young learners, the kindergarten students, with some of the problems that they have at those ages is, their attention span is very short. So whatever we can do to kind of draw them into our class, the better. Because their attention span is very short. So trying to keep them engaged is very important. Yeah, careful use of media. Yeah, careful use of media. See, we want, like, it's good to incorporate videos and everything in, there's a lot of resources that we have, but careful use, just making sure that it is relevant and it is appropriate for the students to listen to and watch. Okay. And then challenged. Okay. So with this point, we have to make sure that again, the word controlled comes in. I'm going to trying to drill this into everyone's minds as we go through this, that although some of these things and tips we think about as adults, as teachers, think about challenges that are relevant to us. But then I'm trying to put us in the mind of a young learner, of a kindergarten student, that we as teachers don't actually have to do too much to challenge the students. Okay. And so we have to make sure that we're on a scale that is relevant to them, okay, as we go through today. Okay. So we try to make, and especially with young learners, making assessments, as creative and fun for the students as well, not make it like a typical, just straight test. Like there's different ways that we can assess our students, especially at the kindergarten level. Okay. All right. So some strategies that we can go with all of these points and all of these ideas that I've just kind of presented to you guys. So first thing here, emphasize learning by doing and provide hands-on projects and opportunities. Okay, so these kinds of things, like Isabel just said, sensorial activities. So utilizing, their senses. So this can be kind of in line with the kind of physical development that I talked about, right? So something being hands-on, so doing some projects, some drawing, any use of their body or their motor skills, because we're developing those as well. Okay, and in a sense, that's going to challenge them, and that's going to kind of develop like their learning style, essentially, and which is kind of a lower point on the bottom. And then providing regular opportunities for group work and the development of social skills. So social skills was a point in the whole child approach. In previous times, I talked about the different interactions that you can have in class. So there's, the teacher-student interaction, the student-teacher interaction, but also try to include a lot of student-student interaction as well. Okay, give them the opportunity to talk with each other, whether or not it's, some of the small dialogue that I'll be showing or conversations, just giving that chance to talk with each other, and also giving you a break so you can actually see and assess how the students are learning gives a good opportunity. Okay, and then think about the language around classroom expectations. So this one kind of ties in with the emotional kind of development with them, and as well as some of the points of being supported and mostly the supported part and safe aspects. So actually, with the language that you use, telling the students, oh, I like the way you colored this, as opposed to, that's something that the students can kind of comprehend and respond to more, rather than just saying good job. Okay, so just kind of working around the language that you use in class as well as a teacher can kind of, might not seem like a big thing, but it's something that can, really develop and help the students. Okay, and then I touched on this last point just a little bit with the first point about developing the learning styles. So using balanced instruction. So instead of, only using worksheets or only doing this kind of, like with going back to the sensorial activities, like trying to, there's very different types of learners, and to kind of, with the balanced instruction, it gives the students different ways that they can learn something. And in a sense, as a teacher, you can make notes of that and realize how to kind of teach the students a bit better, a way that they will, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of react and kind of respond is the word I was looking for. Respond better to the way you teach. So it's very hard early on, but as long as we're starting that out with kind of learning the different styles of learning, whether, it can be like, we have a lot of people that are visual learners, or the learners that, they need to actually do it. They don't, as much as we kind of, as the teachers talk and everything, they won't really learn it until they write it down, or until they actually try to practice the sentences themselves and make those mistakes. Okay? Kind of similar to this, like I'm talking about all of these kinds of approaches and strategies, and some teachers and some of you might be like, okay, yeah, I totally get that. But then, there's going to be, it's an okay thing. Like some teachers are going to get this and not understand it right away. But then when they put it into practice, it's like, okay, I see where this is going. So just, learning styles isn't, just for the students. It's also for us as kind of teachers as well when we take in other aspects. All right. So going off that, so now we're going to go with our book, and then how can we kind of look at all these approaches and all these kinds of tips when we're going through each lesson, how are we going to apply it? Okay. So what we're going to use is eFuture's kindergarten course book, Little Hands. So just a brief introduction says it's always good, whether you're using our books or a different book, it's good to know what resources you have available to you. Okay. So as long as you know what you have available to you, then you can kind of adjust what you can do in your lessons. Okay. So here for Little Hands, we have our student book, we have our, we have our audio, we have our activity books, which are, kind of like the younger kind of project books essentially. And then we have kind of sticker packages that we use with the students. So remember, we're still developing those physical skills. So even something as simple as getting the students to put a sticker on the page can go a long way with their development, even if it's very small kind of activity, okay? And then for the teachers, knowing that you have your teacher's manual, you have your, in the teacher's manual, you have suggested lesson plans, suggested activity ideas, and we have a teacher's e-kit. So especially for those that are still teaching online, knowing that if your book has an e-book or an e-kit, as we call it here for Little Hands, there's a lot for your online lessons. Okay, so for you, all you online teachers right now, we have those available. So Little Hands is from eFuture. I see one of the questions there. So Chip the Puppet, if you can see back here, we have Chip in the back here. So that's another thing to kind of, with the puppet, that would go under the kind of engaged portion of your classroom. So, like I talked about attention spans and everything, what better to use a puppet with the, 3 or 4 year old students, right? So even going into some other things, we also have kind of the character kind of cutouts that the students can use for different things, all right? So that's the teacher, what they have. And this is the teacher's package. So everything that I mentioned here for the teachers, we all have in like one package. So it comes with flashcards. So these are the kind of, oops, upside down. So the full-size flashcards. We have Chip the Puppet. We have posters, everything to kind of get the students engaged in class, all right? So those are kind of what we have as a teacher. And then going back to the e-kit, and I will be kind of doing my lesson walkthrough with the e-kit. So we'll look at the pages and then kind of discuss, okay, what are some things that we can do to develop the, the physical or the social? So what are some things that we can extend our lesson? So these are some games and activities included in the e-kit that we will be seeing in just a little bit. All right. So as we go through, check my time. Oh, on schedule here. Okay, so things to consider as we're going through, and even just as we're teaching our students, that again, these students are just starting to learn. So kind of, this is their first experience in being in a classroom, right? So, they're mostly for kindergarten students, unless they went to kind of preschool or for teaching preschool as well. They're coming from, being at home most of the day, going into a classroom. So we have to expect that some behaviors are going to be, we need to kind of adjust their behavior a bit. And learning routines is kind of a big way to kind of go about helping with that, right? So just remembering that. And then children are taking their first steps into learning. So just kind of making sure that we have kind of the, realistic expectations going in. Just remembering that as we're going through. And then if we remember this already, this is the whole child approach. So we are trying to develop all of these as we go through their learning and learning career, essentially. Okay. So when I'm talking about learning routines in classroom environments, so, trying to get those cues. I know in a lot of different classes, teachers have those kinds of cues to get the students' attention. So like some of the Korean teachers that I had, they had like the 1, 2 eyes on me, 1, 2 eyes on you, kind of chants to kind of get their attention. What I used to use was if you can hear me, clap once, and then the students that hear me will clap. And then if you can hear me, clap twice, and then like the clapping kind of gets the other students' attentions, and then they kind of notice, okay, teacher's kind of trying to get our attention. So there's different things that whatever works for you as a teacher, you can do to signify different things. And then using signals and songs. So especially for the young learners, as teachers, we don't want to kind of extend our voice too much. We don't want to be yelling or shouting or anything. So if we're using sounds, ringing a bell, or, playing a song, which we have in Little Hands, it's a good way to kind of build those routines. All right. With these, so I'm just going to touch on this really quickly, going back to our controlled input. So this is kind of what the students are learning. So it's very controlled. So this is the nursery level of Little Hands. So notice that we aren't pushing too much on them, okay? So we have very short sentences, so a few vocabulary words, And, on the nursery level, we are teaching them the alphabet and a bit of phonics as well. So it's very controlled input. We're not challenging them too much. So once we get into going into level 1, we start building upon that. So we're always trying to recycle and link their learning throughout the series. So if we go back to the nursery, we see, okay, in Unit 2, they're learning these colors red and blue. They're learning how to count 1, 2 in nursery level, something small. Then as we get into the later levels, we start building upon that. Okay, let's give them 2 more colors to learn. Let's have them count up to 5 now instead of just to 2 or 3. Okay, so we're always trying to build upon that. All right, so that's what I talk about with controlled input. So how we can control it. They can still practice their fluency. Okay, we're just giving them 2 sentences, but they can still practice the fluency, right? All right, so now let's get into a unit. Okay, just make sure my ebook is still active. Okay, very good. So let me share this with you now. So now we're looking into Little Hands. So we're going through a lesson. So here we have Unit 6. And for those that are teaching online, with your ebook or with anything, you can use through Zoom as well, actually. There's the toolbar, like the drawing functions and everything. But just utilizing the tools to kind of, direct the students' attentions to what you want. So just a quick thing up here. So you can see that there's drawing functions. So if you want to say, oh, students, can you tell me where the orange is? They can kind of circle it. I at least circled some of it. It's not a perfect circle. And then we can erase. And other things, like timers, a good thing for time management for your class. If you want to have the students only do an activity for so long, you can use the timer, as well as like a spotlight. Okay, so like if you're using this, say, okay, students, okay, class, what is this? Okay, what is this? It's a banana. Okay, so we can have them do it like that. Okay. So we have all these kinds of things for you guys. So let's go into now the kind of lesson walkthrough, lesson flow. Okay. So the beginning of a unit, we are looking at kind of introducing the key language for the students. Okay. And how we kind of do that, we have a song. Okay. With the young students, songs are a very, very useful tool that we can use with them. So whether we're using songs just to introduce, and also if you want to use lyrics on there, if you want them to see the words. So you can go through, introduce through the unit song. Depending on your style as well, you can utilize your flashcards. So you can introduce the first one. So here we have an orange. So you can show the orange to the students, kind of listen and repeat with the words, and then have them, point out where the orange is. So then again, this is where the spotlight can come in. You can say, oh, is this an orange? No. Is this an orange? Okay, kind of going through it that way, right? So there's different ways depending on your teaching style that we can go through, right? So, matching the picture or matching the flashcard to what's in their book, kind of giving that, even that small kind of thing of which one is an orange, that is kind of like a mental challenge for the students, right? So we're giving them a task. So can they look at your flashcard and find the similar picture in their book? Okay. It might not be difficult for us as adults, but we're talking about 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds that are just learning English. So in our minds, it's like, okay, that's enough of a challenge. And if that's not a challenge for them, you can always, put it up a bit. You can always challenge them a bit more with something. Okay. So this is just that introduction. And if you're practicing, with the sing-along, you can have them listen and repeat and, just going through with the students, right? And within the e-kit as well, we have, other kind of, I was talking about routines that we have included. So we also have a hello song, transition chant, and a goodbye song that you can use with the students. So hello song, good thing for students to start the class. Transition chant, good thing when you're going from one activity to another. And then the goodbye chant or goodbye song to kind of signify, okay, this is, this is the end of the class and everything, all right. Okay, so this is the first part of our unit. So we're introducing the language. So I'm just going to answer this question really quick. Can kids play with those tools during a Zoom lesson? What you can do, so if you're using our eSmart Class platform, which we do have available, if you have your own class set up, the students can play with their own version, so they can open up the eKit through the student account and use the tools. But most likely, if you're using Zoom, you would probably want to use the Zoom function for drawing. So you wouldn't be able to necessarily use the spotlight, but if you asked them to circle the bananas, they would be able to go, if they kind of walked them through how to use the Zoom tools to draw using Zoom. Okay. Okay, so going into now the second lesson. So the first lesson, we're going over kind of these sentences and everything, kind of introducing the key language a bit. And now we're going to practice the words. So this is where, if you can notice here, let me use Spotlight. Looking right here and looking right over here, you can see that there's kind of a whited out circle. So this is where, when I was talking about the stickers can come in, right? And this is, you can get them in the back of the book, and then you can put the stickers on the correct one, the correct word, right? So we can go over the languages and everything. And then we also have the extra functions in here. So we have flashcards. So you can kind of, you can use this as a review or a wrap up with the students. So in addition to the physical flashcards, if you're using online class, you also have the digital flashcards through the eKit. So oranges. When we click on here, oranges. So we can practice listen and repeat with the students, okay? And then there's some extra E activities that I was talking about. So here, listen and choose. So, watermelons. Click here, watermelons. So you can have the class, like if you're using Zoom, before you click the answer, you can have the students, can you circle the watermelons? And then, go in, see if the students really have learned what a watermelon is. So you can go in and use it that way, okay? And then depending on the size of your class, you might have 20 circles or 5 circles. So just be, prepare for that if you're letting the students draw through Zoom. And then you can click the correct answer and go through, okay? And you can do multiples of those. Okay, so this is when we're kind of practicing just the key language, okay? So we're practicing the words and a bit of the sentences with the students, all right? So that's lesson 2. So if we're thinking about, okay, what skills are we practicing or developing? So with the stickers, practicing those physical skills. If you're kind of asking them questions or having them circle through these activities, that's giving them that challenge. So it's building their kind of cognitive skills a bit. Okay? And somewhere in between, there can be a bit of emotional. So emotional can be on a kind of a situational basis. So so that can also be in development as well. So they're kind of just going through emotions. It's like, oh, am I doing this correctly? And then kind of giving them that reassurance, like even if they get it wrong, we're still learning. Like telling them it's okay. Like it's always okay to be wrong. So we learn from mistakes, right? So going into lesson 3, so now we can start developing a bit of the social skills a bit. So as you can see on the sidebar here, this is what we have available. We still have the unit songs available, but now with our flashcards, so this can be seen as like a warm-up opportunity here. We have blurred flashcards. So it's like, and you can slowly make it more clear for the students. Just kind of play the simple game with them, giving them, again, this is one of those cognitive challenges, okay? And we keep going through until it's fully clear. So really quick, we had a question about whether this is being recorded, this webinar is being recorded. We will be uploading it to our YouTube channel, so fear not, okay? So we can have the different blurred ones, okay? Blurred flashcards. And even if you don't use this, when you get back into in-class versions, you can still use this, or there's different kind of game variations you can use with flashcards, all right? So then going in to the E activity as well, listen and choose. So now we're practicing their sentences, their comprehension. Okay, so we are getting into a bit of the comprehension.
What are these? They are ears.
They are ears.
What do you see? I see oranges.
I see oranges. So then you say, wow, which one is the correct sentence? It'll be this one, right? So it's different activities here. Okay, so listen and choose, kind of understanding and comprehension a bit. Okay, so that's lesson 3. So now we're getting into the conversation practice. Okay, so with the social development, having the students practice these conversations with each other. Okay, talking about yeah, exactly. Okay, so then we're getting into part 4. So now we're introducing some new, a little bit of new language, key language. So before here we had, and there you can always see what the students are learning, what the targets are on the bottom. So we have here the sentences were, what do you see? I see oranges. Now we're adding on to another challenge a little bit with a new target. Now it's how many, okay? Now it's how many. So we're still using the same vocabulary, but now it's still in a different structure, right? And for here, we have a chant that the students can practice with.
How many watermelons? 1, 2.
Okay. So you can do that with the students as well, okay? So that's, again, kind of the listen and repeat. We can still, develop the social skills. We can move on from just 2 watermelons into counting these other fruits as well. So changing up the sentences. So always a way that we can adapt for our students, okay? And then again, now it's kind of bringing everything together with some more conversation. So practicing the new targets from the previous lesson into a conversation, and especially for the students, putting the language into context as well. So giving them, okay, what situation would I be using these sentences in, okay? So that's where these kind of get put in. And we do have more activities. So if the students, it would be hard to kind of do this with the students. Of course, you can be like, oh, does it go here? Does it go here? And you can kind of get the students to be like, oh, yes, no, and everything. And go that way, okay? And then, yeah, so we can do a little puzzle with the students. Of course, they can play it by themselves, like I talked about with their student account. You can do it that way, right? So there's that. So you can always go back. And then we have the animation for the story as well.
How many apples? 2 apples. Here you are. Thank you.
Again, with the fluency, practicing the fluency here, practicing the comprehension a little bit, and just kind of, and it's very simple, okay? It's keeping it within the range of the young learners, okay? And then going into kind of our CLIL. So there's something, so those that don't know CLIL, it's the kind of strategy of bringing in different subject matter into the English class. So here we have it, for this unit, we have art. So we were talking about fruits, and then we have some colors here as well. So, talking about the secondary and primary colors here. And, you can, if you have the art supplies and stuff, you can actually do the mixing of the colors and the paint with the students. Okay? And then we have the flashcards for the colors as well. Okay, so orange, purple, okay, with the students. So if you're going to do that kind of mixing project there, also developing the physical skills. So I'm always trying to point out, what skills that we can develop for each part of the unit, right? So looking at the physical, maybe even emotional if they're having fun, just trying to channel all that excitement in there. Okay, and the social. Okay, so that's the CLIL portion, and then even more we have the project. Kind of each unit kind of has its own project, and the students can kind of tap into their creativity. They can have fun with this fruit basket. So they can make any kind of color of fruit. So you can review the fruit with them. So they have like kind of the cutouts and everything. And so they can say, oh, I have 1 watermelon. How many bananas do you have? I have 3 bananas. Kind of go through that and then go through the colors as well. Okay. And then we have a unit link. So how I talked about earlier when I was showing the kind of key vocabulary and key language across different levels, even within the books, we still try to link all the different units together. Because of course, even throughout the levels, as I mentioned earlier, we're still trying to build upon their knowledge. Okay, not just across the levels, but within the same book. So we are trying to get the students to practice. So here we have chair and book. So this came from a previous unit. And then we can even go further and practice the previous sentence structures with these new objects. Okay, so we're talking about how many apples. Now we can ask how many books. So they're still practicing what they learned this unit, but they're using the vocabulary from previous units. All right. And then we still have more activities here. So here we have the pairing activity. So it's a simple matching game, right? Yes, recycling vocab, absolutely correct. Linking the vocab, linking the sentence structures. And then we talked about the timers, right? Someone talked about using the timers with the flashcards. So we also have the timed flashcards, okay?
Apples.
So it's like, so they look at here, it's like, okay, what is it? They have, a certain amount of seconds, and then it blurs. And then the students, have to do it this way, okay? And then one final kind of game within the unit.
Apples.
So apples.
Apples.
So do we have to pick the correct key? Everyone, which one is the apples? 1, 2, or 3? Number 3. So they click that here. So they get the treasure.
Oranges.
Right?
Oranges.
And kind of go through, and they have to see how many they can get within a certain amount of time. So you can either play this, as a class, or you can make it a challenge for the students and do it in groups as well. Okay. So when I talked about the components for the next part here, so there was the student book. So we're looking directly at the student book. But for those that are using Little Hands, if you don't know, on the bottom left here, there's an AB. So this is our other component for the students to learn. It's the activity book. Okay, so it goes directly to, the corresponding page in the activity book for this unit. Okay, so we have other things here. So we have cut and paste. So again, more physical skills. Okay, skill development. So then on previous ones, here's our fruit basket, right? Find in color. Okay, so here's a little bit of cognitive development. So now they're at the same time kind of practicing their alphabet. So they see the letter O. Now O is orange, so they need to color all of the orange. Okay, all of the O's orange. And also another thing, at this young age, unless they're very coordinated already, you can probably expect that they won't color in between the lines, and that's okay. So we just have to remember giving them that support and that reassurance. Like even if student A had, colored within the lines and student B didn't, that doesn't mean that student B did it wrong. Okay, so kind of giving them that support that that they're still doing fine. Like we're still developing their skills. Like we're not going to grade them on their coloring in between the lines, right? So here's some other things here that we have. Circling the difference, again, cognitive challenge. So can you guys tell me in the chat, what are the 2 things that are different in these 2 pictures? I'll take a sip of water. different. The number of bananas. Good. So we have 3 and there's 5. Very good. And the oranges. Good. What were the oranges before? They were apples. Okay. Good. The fruit that the boy is holding, the apples. Okay. Very good. So these are the various things that we have. You know, there's a lot of different activities throughout all the units that you can do with your students. Okay. So even if you didn't want to create your own games, your own worksheets, there's a lot included. So that's why I talk about knowing what resources you have, what you have with your book. There's so many things that are already prepared for you as a teacher, or that, you know, us publishers and everything have prepared for you, for your students in your class. All right. So that's the e-kit, and that's kind of the walkthrough there. So now let's get back. So I have 15 minutes or so. So now if you do want to go above and beyond, and you do say, oh, I've done these activities in that the teacher's manuals told me, I've done them many times. I want to, you know, I want something new. I want to try something different, right? So I've like researched, and these are some of these activities I've done with my students before when I was a teacher. So let's go through a few of these. So I have a good amount of time. So I've kind of broken them down into when I would use them in class, and like what kind of targets that I would use them for, as well as just a note that sometimes you can, almost all games can be adjusted. So although I'm showing you what I would consider a warm-up game, you can use them as a specific, you know, vocabulary game or, you know, review game. So they can be adjusted. So this is just kind of my idea. So it's open for you guys to kind of use in your own ways. All right. So just a quick note before I get in here. So kind of a simple one, find something. Okay. You can give the students an image to look at for those that are online. So say, I was going to show the color unit, but say you're doing a color unit, and since you're online and say you don't want to use like an image, a way you can vary it is have them find something of that color in the room that they're in. So if they're learning the color blue, so if I look for something blue, here I have a tissue box. So then they can show it on their camera, like, yeah, this is blue. Okay. So it's a different way that they can, you know, practice and get them engaged as well in class. Okay. So, and then, but if you're using the image, you can have the students circle the objects online like we've done earlier. All right. So I'm going to give you an image, and I'm going to ask you some questions about the image. All right. So there's going to be a few questions. So now this is, get ready to write in chat. So my first question here, what animals do you see on this page? So we have an octopus. Octopus, good. Frog, good. Mouse, wait, where's the mouse? See the mouse right there. Bear, oh, Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. Monkey, very good. Insects, butterfly, spiders. Good, I think the bear was down here. Did I see a, let's see what this is. Ladybug, where's the ladybug? Oh, they're over here, good. Good, good. Dinosaur, very good. I was waiting to see someone say the dinosaur. Can anyone tell me what kind of fish this is? I'm interested to see. I'm going to use a tissue right now, actually. Swordfish, very, very good. Swordfish or marlin. Okay, next question. Next question. See if I can get there. What color is the crayon? So this is a simple question. So if we're learning colors, purple, good. Purple, make sure there's only one crayon there. You can find it, very good. So now let's try to step it up a bit. So here's another challenge, so a bigger challenge. How many 5s do you see? How many 5s do you see? So I'll try to count mine. 2. Okay. Okay. So far I count at least 6. So if there's one that I missed, so let's go through here. So there's the 5 here. So there's 1. There's 1 down here. It's 2. There's 1 here. Small one here. It's 3, 4, 5. And my 6th one, the dice. The dice is number 6. You can be a little tricky as a teacher and include this 5 that's on the screen as well. That's for the 7. I know some of my teachers kind of played that trick. It's kind of one of those kind of riddles you don't include the other one. Up near the shoe? Up here? Is there a 5 that I missed in here? Oh, there is one. It's upside down. Very good. Very good, Rhonda. You get a gold star. Okay, very good. And then our last question here. What single letters do you see? So if you want to practice the alphabet. I thought about that one as well, Jonathan. I know that, so I looked at the nickel. You could include that one, but yeah. E-R-M-N, good. R, so a lot of R's. Yeah, lowercase r, we see the N and the T. We have an E, we have a V. This could be a B. If they're looking upside down, probably turn it into a Q. The big capital R here. Didn't see anyone say O. There could be an O right here. There's a Z here as well. So you can also see how far they go here. Okay. So that's kind of the find something. So kind of a simple. When I was a kid, basically what this was called is I think I have it in here. I Spy. So there was books where they'd give you a list. So kind of similar thing for the next one here. So if you had the students, give the students a list, and then this is where the drawing function is. So you gave them a list. Where is it? So camera, where's the camera? And then the students can draw. Anyone see where the camera is? I know it's kind of a blurry image, but try to give it a little bit more difficult. On the suitcase, very good. Here is the camera. The umbrella. The umbrella is over here. Oh, look at that perfect circle around the umbrella. Okay, so you can go through all of those as well. So the glasses, the shell. Shell is up here. Those I don't see it. And then the pencil. Pencil is on here. Prepositions. Very good, Isabel. Yes, it's a good thing that you can practice prepositions for. And depending on the image, again, you can review previous lessons' vocabulary. Yeah. If you're also teaching online, if you want to have another kind of fun with the students, maybe I can do this in a future webinar. You can hide. So if they had, if you're using fruits, okay? If you're a teacher that loves fruits, you can get the fruits that you're using in lesson and kind of place them around the room that you're in and see if the students can find it. Okay. So that's kind of another way to kind of get them engaged. All right. So here, another one, what's in the bag? So normal times, in regular class, you could have a bag and have everything inside. So I'm doing the online version of this, so through a PPT. So it's just kind of getting the students to guess. So here's my bag. Then can you guess? What is it? Book. I think I showed too much on the first one. Yeah, so it's a book. Okay, kind of a simple game you can do with your students. There's a lot of different hidden picture kind of variations that you can do. So this would be a good either warm-up or you can practice vocabulary this way. Memory games. So again, there's different variations of the memory games. Like on the e-kit, there was the one that memory and matching kind of games. So if you're showing the students all of these, so here's all you can use the physical flashcards or the images. So we have a bus, we have a table, chair, boat, book, and crayon. Okay, so now I'm going to show the next slide, and one of these will be missing. All right, so you need to tell me which one is missing. You ready? Do you have enough time to memorize which one was in there? Hopefully you aren't writing them down. I don't want you to write the list in the chat. Okay, let's be honest, not cheat. Okay, So I'm going to go to the next one here. So which one is missing? Yes, Isabel, they could find their own fruit as well. The table, oh, I did catch someone. I accomplished. The table is very small here, right under the boat. I caught you guys. Very good. I feel accomplished. The crayon is the one that's missing. Right? So I kind of overlooked the table, very small there. Okay. So an extra challenge on top of the memory challenge, right? Okay. And then I think we do one more. So which one is missing here? Ooh, zoom in very quick. Yes, the chair. Again, catching the ship, the boat. The boat is down at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully the screen is okay. If your screen got cut off on the bottom, then, but yeah, the boat is on the bottom. Okay, so that is another activity that you can do with your students. Whether you're doing it online or in class, you can do it. There's a lot of variations for these activities. Okay, so a simple flash game. So this is kind of giving the students, just kind of showing them a flashcard and then putting it away. So like flashing the card to them. Okay, so here we have the flash game. So I'm going to do a few with you. Previous times I tried to alter this a little bit, try to make it more difficult for you guys, challenge you a bit more. Okay, so the first one going to be quite easy. So can you tell me what it is? You ready? 3, 2, 1. What is it? Oranges. Very good. Oranges. And then you can go ahead and go again, show the image, oranges. And then listen and repeat. Okay. And then the next one. Oh, going through. Next one here. Bananas. Very good. And then the last one, going to be very quick, very small. Let me go again. Oh, we have some people with very good eyes. I won't try to go as fast as I can, but some people got the answer correct. So between apples and strawberries, it is actually apples. Very good. Oh, cherries. If I made it really small, it could be seen as a cherry as well. Okay. And in my PowerPoint, I won't go into these websites, but I did find some websites that you could use with your students. So this one kind of depending on the vocabulary, there's some sorting that you can do. You can just get the idea from these and then use them with the students. So once you get the presentation, which we will be sending to you guys, you can kind of go in and explore these websites that I found. Very quickly, I'm going to go through some vocabulary ones. So object Pictionary, can't try it. I got a little carried away with some of these other ones. So it's kind of normal Pictionary. You can get get the students, look at the flashcard, and then they have to draw it on the board. If you're using Zoom, there is a whiteboard for those that don't know. So how we were going to do it, you can just share this whiteboard here, and then the students can draw. Okay. All right. Erase. Okay. And go back. Yeah, so that's the Pictionary. Shuffle cups. So this one, normally, if you were in person, you would get kind of the small images and put them in a cup, kind of like those street performers where they kind of, you have to follow. Okay, you have to follow which cup is where, and then get the students to kind of guess where it is. So here's kind of a variation. I'm running out of time, but I'll show you. Once you get when you get the presentation, you can kind of go through these. So then kind of shuffles around, and then you kind of have to guess. Oh, it looks like there might have been an error in the editing when I changed the format. But then when you click behind them, usually it'll show you. So the book got misplaced. So the book should have been down here. But yeah, there's different ways you can do it similar to that so that you can look at. Okay, and then you can go harder depending. So you can change them around this way. Okay. And have the students guess with the numbers and everything. Okay. Again, some more websites for online vocabulary stuff. And then with alphabet and phonics activities, kind of similar as to the kind of finding game earlier, just giving them a scavenger hunt, so showing them an image and then giving them a phonics target that they can do with. So here we have the letter B or B, and then you can ask them, which picture here has the phonics target, B. So then they could go in, bag, bowl, bell. If they're really strong in vocabulary, bulb, light bulb, book, board, black. So there's different things that they can go for, right? So there's all these. So then we can circle them. Which one's there? Erase the sound. So you just have them have a picture, give them the phonics target, tell them to erase. Erase the sound. So we have the K sound here. Normally, the snowman, the color changed. The nose would be a carrot. So you would erase that. Give him the B sound. Erase the buttons. H sound. Erase the hat. Okay. And there's some other games here. So kaboom. So again, just using popsicle sticks. This would be more in class. There's probably a way you can make it virtually, but most effective in class for those that are teaching in class. So you can kind of read about it when you get the presentation. And same, earlier I referred to a sorting game. So you get the images and then kind of put them in the correct phonics target. So if you're using Zoom, kind of drag them, or not drag them, but write a line to them, okay? And then again, more online resources for you guys that you can take a look at, okay? Yeah, and also if you want stories, all here. Okay, so some final things, some final tips and notes for me to give to you guys before we wrap it up. So again, for those that are teaching online, a lot of these resources, try to be more familiar with them, try to plan for them to use in class. Helps a lot, especially preparing for what obstacles you might encounter. Yeah, so always be careful, be comfortable with anything that you're going to be using in class. Especially with online classes, try to provide alternatives to screen time. Like I talked about, students that have short attention spans, giving them projects, giving them worksheets or something to get their eyes away from the screen some of the times. Really helps. Try to stay communicated with the parents, and then video content as well, if you can create that. In future, we have been creating a lot of video content for you guys, so as well as this webinar will be shared, so be sure to look out for that. And for the whole child approach, try to create a sense of need to know and curiosity in your students, okay? The more curious and more active they want to be to learn, can foster, that can just, it will just do a lot of wonders for the students, okay? Especially finding ways to motivate them and bringing things in that they're interested in, okay? Okay, so yeah, we're short on time. So if there's any questions, this is my email address. So once you get this presentation, if you have any questions regarding anything in here, don't hesitate to email me if you need anything cleared up. I'll gladly answer it. Okay. And then these are all of our kind of resource pages that we have. So my colleague Sue had just posted where you can get the flashcards, so you can download them on our website. eSmart Class also has a lot of the downloadable resources. You follow us on Facebook, all of our webinar schedules, we post model lesson videos whenever we have new video content coming out. We put them on our Facebook and Instagram for those that have Instagram as well. Be sure to follow us there. We try to stay as communicated as possible with you guys, as much as possible. The biggest one here, we do have the YouTube channel, so look for us on YouTube, subscribe. This webinar video, my colleagues have been quite quick with the turnaround for the webinar, so it could be up as soon as later today or tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Be sure to look for us there. For certificates, I saw someone mention certificates earlier. These are the people that we want you to kind of be in touch with. We want to try to make this, for you guys that are putting your time out to join these webinars, we want to make these certificates special to you. So we don't want to have, us to just send out, we don't want to send out a link and then possibly it being shared around, for whatever reason, or put on the internet or, somewhere to be downloaded. So we want to make sure that these are, very special and specific to you guys that are putting the time out to, come in and, learn more. So that's the reason why we want to, kind of go around and kind of get it from the people, from our partners that are in your country. Okay. So these are the contacts for that. And if after a certain amount of time, say even after a few days or a week goes by and you haven't gotten it yet, please feel free to email us or contact us on Facebook. We will do our best to try to get you guys your certificates. All right. So we don't want you to be left empty-handed as well. Okay. And then my colleague has put our survey link in the chat. Again, we're always trying to be responsive to your guys' feedback, everything that you guys would want from us, things that you would like to see from us in the future and everything. We'd love to hear it. And for those that haven't left yet, I'm going to kind of just give you the direct link right now to my presentation here. So just click on it, make sure that it's there and you can see it and let me know. I will try to fix it as well, but the presentation is there that you can download and see. Yeah, Chip is very popular, very popular with the students. Just have to make sure that they don't, kind of destroy him or destroy her. Sorry, it's a she. Okay. So yeah, so one more time. So this is the PPT link for you guys. So just make sure that you get it. It will be, for those, especially for those that left already, it will be in the follow-up email from Zoom as well. So be sure, to look for that in case you missed it. Let's say if your friend, left early already. Okay. So thank you guys so much. Please, again, feel free to email me if you have any questions. I hope I was of help for you guys today. You got some new ideas and everything for your class. And we do have more webinars coming up next month. Okay. So be on the lookout for that on our social media. So we will be posting that very soon, and we hope to see you again. And we hope that all of you are safe and are doing well. And I know it's a difficult time, but we are doing our best to kind of, do our best to help you guys. So take care. Have a good night, good afternoon, and good evening. Okay. So thank you guys so much. You guys were great. Thank you for interacting with me. And hope to see you again next time. All right. Take care.